Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has ditched his party's election promise made last year to deliver £90 billion in tax cuts. He says that is not currently realistic.
He also claims that Labour is wrecking the public finances ahead of Rachel Reeves' statement, which we're expecting in the next few minutes. But let's speak to Reform's head of policy, Zia Yusuf. Very good morning to you, Zia Yusuf.
Good morning.
Can the electorate be forgiven for thinking you all make promises you never stick to? There's just no point believing politicians and their promises on tax anymore.
I think they could be forgiven for thinking that if they were looking at what Labour are doing, because they actually won the election. Sadly, we have a drunken sailor in the form of Rachel Reeves at the tiller of this great country's economy. She's raising taxes at a pace, according to Capital Economics, unseen in 55 years, while increasing borrowing £40 billion more than she committed to ahead of the election. Sadly, Reform did not win the general election. Nigel is not yet our Prime Minister. And what we're saying is, look, Reform, of course, our intention is in the medium term to cut taxes, but the state of the economy is deteriorating so rapidly. The first thing we must do is restore the wrecked public finances, restore confidence in Britain and get people's cost of living.
That sounds like the Labour Party before the general election. We need to fix the foundations. Now, we can talk about what Rachel Reeves is going to do, none of us know, until 8:10 or indeed until the budget. But you did promise that you would raise the threshold for paying tax to £20,000, and I imagine a huge number of people would have voted for you on that basis. You've now said that younger people on the minimum wage are being paid too much, that you would also cut that. I mean, if you're a younger voter looking at Reform, you might think, well, these things I wanted from a Reform government, I don't want that anymore.
Well, the first thing to say is, as we saw with the Liz Truss budget, it's all very easy to promise tax cuts and then find that global markets are unwilling to support the British economy. And that's when people watching this programme with mortgages, they will remember their mortgage costs blew up. We are taking the business of potential governance seriously. And the Tories over 14 years did wreck the public finances. Sadly, they took our national debt to almost $3 trillion. Labour are making things even worse. And let's talk about young people. It is a catastrophe at the moment that we have a larger proportion of our young adults out of work or not seeking work than we have had in many decades. A larger proportion, almost a third of our young adults are still living at home with their parents. They can't even afford to move out and rent a place. Forget about buying a home. That's become a total pipe dream. And if we talk about the minimum wage, what we're about is saying this: there's a correct level to set that so that you find the right balance between making it affordable, particularly for small and medium-sized businesses, to hire young people. We're speaking to so many hospitality businesses that are, as we speak, going out of business. And that is why also the number one category of people going on to benefits over the last 5 years in terms of growth in new cases, under 25s. They are being tossed onto the scrap heap. So we are not going to betray our young people, particularly British nationals. The last thing I'll say is all the jobs growth in the under 25 category over the last 5 years, all of it are foreign nationals.
The problem
we are
is
betraying our young people. And Nigel Farage is the person who is on their side.
The problem is, Zia Yusuf, these are matters of judgment, aren't they? Do we trust the judgment of people who might be our Prime Minister? You just criticised the Liz Truss budget, which was tax cuts paid for by borrowing. But your leader, Nigel Farage, at the time, in September 1992, described that as the best Conservative budget since 1986, the best Conservative budget for more than 15 years. In 2022, your leader thought the Truss budget was the right thing, and now you are criticising it. Doesn't that suggest Nigel Farage is the one who's got the judgment problem?
Because I think it was a bit more recently than 1992, but I understand your question. Would you rather have a Prime Minister who learnt nothing from history, that didn't see what actually happened in global markets? And look, there are a whole load of things.
Nigel Farage said it was the best budget in 2022, and he's now learned from history. And last year he said tax cuts were affordable, and he's now learned from history. So he's doing quite a lot of learning. What we want is somebody who's got judgment. And on both of those, he got it wrong.
Judgment is a function of taking into account things that you have seen through your life. And if we look at that Liz Truss budget, there are things at a headline level. Look, Nigel Farage is someone who does want to cut taxes for people, but we can see what happens when that is done, when the public finances are in the state that they are in. People's mortgages blew up. People's rents have gone through the roof. 36% today of people's take-home pay for people who rent is already going on rent. In London, that's over 40% just on rent, and that is going up all the time. Unemployment is at 4-year highs. So our message to voters is this: we know the Tories and Labour cannot be trusted to run the economy. Reform will restore the public finances and then cut your taxes.
All right.
Zia Yusuf, my memory, back in 2022, the markets thought the Truss budget was crazy. The Labour Party thought so. Most Conservative backbenchers thought so. Most economists thought so. The only person who thought it was a good idea at the time was Nigel Farage, and he's the guy you're saying is learning from history.
No, that wasn't. I mean, I think that's a revisionist version of history. But look, we make no apologies for the fact that we are a party that looks at what actually happens, understands markets, and are unwilling to basically say to people that we're going to cut lots of taxes at a time when the state of the public finances are imperiled. And we will not allow this country's economy to be dragged off a cliff edge. And that is what is currently happening under this Labour government.
OK. Zia Yusuf, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we will find out perhaps what Rachel Reeves will do in her budget at 8:10.